Here we go, round 4. We're going to be watching Willy Edel. He's going to be playing against Paulo, Vitor, Damo de Rosa. So the Brazilian, I want to call it a mirror match, but it's the
two of the 3 greatest Brazilian Magic players of all time.
of all time.
And, Paulo belongs to another subset of maybe the best 3 or 4 Magic players of all time.
So we just saw a Burning Tree emissary, but no follow-up.
Couldn't get a spark.
Just couldn't find a friend. That guy he works on the buddy system.
So as we told you before, Willy Ætherling is playing a Naya Domri deck. A Domri deck with Domri Rod and a lot of good Naya creatures. He's playing against Esper Control, which is a and there's
Boros Reckoner, everyone's favorite 3-drop. Seems like it was in this booth not too long ago. We were talking a lot about Boros Reckoner.
Yeah. Almost every round.
How times have not changed.
Good
yet.
card is still very good.
Good. Turns out when you take away a lot of cards, the good cards get better. So Boros Reckoner and Burning Tree Emissary gets in. That's going to bring Paulo, Vitor, Damo de Rosa down to 16. I think he's going to go a little bit lower than that.
There we see an Azorius Charm.
Should be 13. There we go.
Cycled to draw a card using the draw card, discard a card, or using the draw card.
And there's a Sin Collector.
There you go.
Probably not a lot of Sins in the Domri Raid deck.
Right. We do see an Advent of the Worm and a Mizia Mortars that are eligible for exile here. Interesting.
Yep, alongside a Voice of Resurgence and another Boros Reckoner, but ineligible.
Ineligible. And he doesn't have the mana to flash in that Advent.
He does not. Advent requires double green, and he only has 1 green source.
Okay, I couldn't tell if that was a stomping ground or not.
And probably Mizia Mortars isn't that big of a threat against the Esper Control deck, I'm willing to guess.
Yeah, he's going to get that Sin Collector out of the way and bang in for 5.
And there's Voice of Resurgence. Another card that we've been talking a lot about.
Yeah, well, this was one of the most coveted cards, coming into this event. People were really looking to get a full set.
So Paul's going to take 2 damage from his Gauntlet Shrine, and there's a Supreme Verdict. Going to wipe the board, but this is where Voice of Resurgence gets his value from.
He gets what right now is going to be a 1/1 token.
I'm surprised that Willy Edel has his own elemental tokens. Those are hard to come by.
And then plays a Boros Reckoner and attacks for 2.
It's too bad we can't have the elemental tokens come up.
On the card viewer?
Yeah, on the card viewer. That would be awesome.
Let's take a look at what Paulo's working with here. So he's got Jace, Architect of Thought, an Ætherling, Devour Flash, Far and Away, and a pair of Sphinx's Revelations.
Whoa. Good luck for those lovely men working the hand viewer tool.
Yeah.
So Loxodon Smiter hit play for Willy Edel.
A much easier sequence is going to be Willy's hand, which is, a Boros Reckoner and a War Leader.
Yeah, but Paulo's down to 4, so he needs to stabilize, but whoa, Far and Away, that helps out a lot. All he needs is to untap and tap out for a Sphinx's Revelation. The first one keeps you alive, and the second one probably wins the game. Ooh,
there we see Jace.
Architect of Thought. Little mini Fact or Fiction revealed 3 cards, and Willy Edel basically splits into 2 piles, a pile of 2 and a pile of 1. Actually, I don't know if it requires you to do that. Can you do a 3-0? So we actually have a couple of results.
Gives Willy gives him 2 lands.
Yep, so we have a couple of results. Melissa Detour is up 1-0 over Igor Kodasevic, and Yuta Takahashi is up 1 game over Brad Nelson.
All right. So a Zertar Druid comes down for Willy Ætherling.
That's inevitability.
Yeah.
4 tap, add 4 mana.
He's just got to tap that 13 or 14 times.
Well, he doesn't know that yet.
He has a pretty good idea, I'm sure.
thinking, should I pull the trigger now or after I play this Watery Grave tapped? Another quick game. Godetis Vidigaris up 1 game over Ben Stark, which is, you know, the opposite of what I would think given the back control versus the mono red matchup.
Right. So, you know, really disappointing for Willy that he couldn't rip a land last turn. He had that War Leader in hand and would have had a chance to...
Aurelia, the War Leader. It might be too late for Aurelia now because Sphinx's Revelation for 3 is going to bring Paulo up to 7. Draw him 3 cards. He's going to play another land, which means his next Sphinx's Revelation is going to be for 4 to 5.
So you can get in for... Does 1 damage with the Zertar. Now plays the War Leader. It's going to get -1, -0.
If Paulo remembers. I've seen a couple of triggers not remembered in plenty of feature matches, but we'll see. Looks like there's still some consideration whether or not an attack.
He's trying to decide whether he's attacking Jace or...
What do you think the right attack is? Paulo's down to 6, but do you have to think that there's another Sphinx's Revelation that's going to happen? Oh,
wow, so it really untaps the Zertar Druid, not just creatures that have attacked, it untaps all creatures.
That's an interesting interaction.
It is. It gets to attack twice.
Unblockable.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where the attack actually went to, but I guess we'll find out in a second. Oh, it looks like Paulo was down to 4, so the attack actually hit Paulo. Yeah. And this is now we're thinking about our second attack.
You can get him to 1 here, essentially.
So that attack is going to bring Paulo down to 2 because of the Jace ability, which makes
and
Aurelia
virtually 1 from the Zertar Druid.
Right, so, you know, unless Paulo does something, Zertar Druid does 1, untap, and does 1 more.
And then he... Let's take a look at the cards in Paulo's hand here. See, he's got another Jace, Ætherling, Psychic Strike.
Ooh, Psychic Strike.
Sphinx's Revelation, and then 4 lands.
Just 2 life total has to be a concern, so are we going to see a Sphinx's Revelation pretty soon?
He has, I mean, he
like
has
main
to,
phase.
He has the Sphinx's Revelation. He just dies, and he could die in Willy's upkeep. Well, I mean, he could do it as an instant, but
that seems a little too cute. Don't you just do it right now?
Yeah.
This is a tough spot. If
What
you're
is,
Paulo.
and what is Willy's 1 card? What is he holding? He's got a Selesnya charm to work with.
Not a non-relevant card.
No, not at all. Especially when combined with the War Leader.
Exactly.
You know, if he gives it, you know, +2/+2.
So here's 2 mana. And some quick undoing. 2 mana. Looks like this is going to be a Sphinx's Revelation.
Right.
If I have to guess.
He's hoping to draw into an Azorius charm here.
And a land.
Well, he's got land in his hand. He's got land aplenty.
Okay. So here's Sphinx's Revelation. It's only going to be for 2. Looks like he drew... Was that an Ætherling that he drew? Well, it wasn't good enough, whatever it was. So Paulo goes down. Willy Edel leads 1-0.
The power of the Zertar Druid.
Single-handedly.
Single-handedly. With no help from its friends. Did you see what I did to him? Aurelia War Leader has a comment or 2 about that.
Is that like when Michael Jordan scores 50 points in a game and someone scores 1 and they say, yeah, me and Michael...
Scores the last point.
Yeah, no, we combined for 51 points. Looking to face a greater challenge? Take your game to a Grand Prix and see how you fare against the best players in your region, as well as top visiting Magic pros. Upcoming Magic Grand Prix include Guadalajara, Gothenburg, Providence, Houston, Bangkok, and Las Vegas. For more information, visit wizards.com/Grand Prix.
I am hoping to go to 2 of those as a player.
Oh, I am going to go. I'm only going to 2 of them. That's unusual for me.
I'm looking to go to both of the same 2 you are.
Oh, well, I'll be there. Is it because I'm going to be there?
Yeah, obviously.
What?
Hey, let's just take a look at Aurelia the War Leader. I mean, we were lying. The Druid helped, but really, the War Leader did the heavy lifting. Michael Jordan here as it was. Or I guess Dennis Rodman is probably more apt in wearing a dress.
We'll see what Twitter says.
Yeah. Aurelia the War Leader, Mythic Rare from Gatecrash. It's the Guild Leader for Boros, and you get an extra attack every turn.
A great interaction with Battalion.
Yeah, you get to do that twice, and it's not the first time we're seeing this. Playing on a high level. We saw it in Eric Froehlich's deck at the last Pro Tour, which he made top 4 with.
Yep, Eric Froehlich's top 4 deck, which also featured Gyre Sage, which is my favorite card now.
Yeah.
But that's not the one we were talking about.
Gyre Sage or Druid?
It is.
Oh, interesting.
I was hoping you'd pick up on that a lot faster.
There we see the players.
Players of the sideboard. Okay, so you're Paulo, Vitor, Damo, Rosa, and you are playing against, it's not the boogeyman of the aggressive decks, but there's some similarities between this and probably a mono red deck that you are ready for. Probably, this deck has a bigger top end than the mono red decks, but are you sideboarding similarly if you're Paulo, Vitor, Damo, Rosa?
I mean, he's. Yeah, he's.
Is he prepared? Does he think his matchup is already prepared?
He has to know this matchup. But I mean, I guess I don't know if Naya was as a big a concern as some of the other decks. I mean, if you've we see something like a Precinct Captain.
Okay.
Which in the sideboard, which is clearly there against the mono red decks.
Okay.
That the 2/2 first strike. Just stop.
Probably just not good enough against the Naya decks.
It might not be good enough against Naya decks, especially a deck that has Domri Raid and can, clear the way.
Right. The fight ability of that.
Yeah, the fight ability. Yeah.
The first thing I always think of is the drawing a creature off the top of your deck ability, but maybe that's not the one that we need to be considering. So let's say that you're Willy Edel, which you're getting a good look at right now, and you just won. You're playing against a control deck. You didn't get to see a lot. You saw Sphinx's Revelations, you saw Jace's, so you kind of have, you get the gist of what's going on. What cards how's he switching his deck around?
I see one card that I think I would love to have from his sideboard. If I was going to have one card from my sideboard that I was going to get to bring in against Paulo, Vitor, Damo, Rosa in the Esper deck.
Okay.
I really like this Urtar the Unbowed. Against the spell heavy.
That guy costs 6.
He does cost 6. But he's gonna
when Paulo taps all of his mana and he Sphinx's Revelations for like 12.
Sure, if he does.
It's not as good.
Also another Domri Raid. That seems particularly strong just against an Esper deck where you're just trying to battle their unrelenting card advantage.
What about this card? What is that one for? Is that just...
I have no idea.
Should we even mention that card? Should we save that for
Let's just save that. Let's see what happens with that. Let's put that on the side. I
mean, the possibilities of that card are endless.
Yeah. I'm definitely brainstorming a lot of stuff that you could do with it. We have another result. Melissa Totora evened up her match 1-1 versus Edgar Kasadovich.
Yep, and we also had Ben Stark and Godinez Vitigaris. They're tied at 1 apiece. So it sounds like, did Melissa Totora win?
Melissa won the first game. Igor won.
Okay, so Igor won. So they
Igor
are
won
tied
and
at 1
it up.
apiece. All right, so now we have Magic the Gathering going on. It looks like we have a Sin Collector. And there is the Possibility Storm. Not that we mentioned it before, but this must be the matchup you bring it in against. Now, Sin Collector can only grab an instant or sorcery, so
Not grab an enchantment.
I can't wait to see what this thing is going to do. We all know what it does, and I'm sure we can get it up on the card viewer for you guys, but I'm just curious.
So let's take a look at the hands here. We have a Loxodon Spider, Possibility Storm, Mountain Plains from Willy, and then we just saw a Far and Away.
Yep, the away part.
The away part.
Getting rid of a Boros Reckoner. 3 mana, and there is a Loxodon Spider.
And Ætherling, Syncopate, another copy of Far and Away, 2 Supreme Verdict. So a pretty solid hand there.
Seems pretty solid. Attack with the Loxodon Spider. That's going to bring Paulo, Vitor, Damo, Rosa down to 16, and there is Possibility Storm.
But that gets syncopated.
Aww,
that's not fun.
That's not fun at all. We wanted to have some fun. I'm sure Nick Fong wanted to have some fun watching this game, but because this is a Nick Fong card. If you've ever played Commander with any of the coverage crew.
Yeah, he's got to be very excited about that. There was a Possibility Storm deck, apparently, in Portland.
Yeah, there was. It was actually pretty awesome. We didn't get a chance to get it on camera. But another another away is going to get rid of the Loxodon Spider. And there's the only druid in this set again. I always go through and count all the druids. Too bad it's a double color druid.
So this time the druid just stepped in the path of an oncoming Sin Collector.
Bye-bye Zeratar druid.
We
And Sin
hardly
Collector.
knew ye.
Voice of Resurgence. Willy Edel's down to 1 card. That's got to make Paulo, Vitor, Damo, Rosa pretty happy.
And that 1 card is Boros Charm.
Could be used as a trick to make his creature indestructible.
But then we look and we see just a fistful of threats and answers. And there's our first look at Ætherling in this Pro Tour.
The 7 cast cost 6 converted mana cost creature, as I like to call it.
7 mana because you wanna protect it.
That's right, pay a blue, and it will...
you can exile Ætherling and return it to its battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next unstep. Another blue, you can make it unblockable. And then for a colorless, you can give it +1 or -1, or -1 and +1.
Yeah, another Morphling throwback.
Yeah.
Ætherling gets unblockability, and then attacks for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it does. I mean, talking to players about the Esper Control deck, apparently 16 is a dangerous life total to be at for Willy Edel. He wants to be at 17 or he wants to be at 9. Those both represent an extra turn against an Ætherling.
Yeah.
Because it deals in 8s.
That's correct. So there's 6 mana in Aurelia. The pause from Paulo. Now, does Paulo have 3 mana up? I can't quite see right now, but he does have it far. Oh, it looks like he only has 2 mana up. No, he has 2 mana up, so he couldn't use the far or the away in response.
Antes do ataque. Não ataquei? Não.
I guess he could have used the far,
Yes.
but it would have left the token behind.
Right.
Now, is this really threatening for Paulo right now? Paulo's at 14. He has an Ætherling in play, and he can attack for 6 easily. 6 unblocked. What's the consideration here?
I am not certain. I guess he knows that there's a... does he know there's a Boros Charm in his hand? Is he worried about that?
Maybe he's considering Boros Charm. Boros Charm would that be lethal? That's 1, 2, that's 5, 10. That would be exactly lethal.
Yeah, there you go.
So that away might be doing away with one of those
Pode
creatures.
atacar.
So he attacks.
Tô com minha mão? Então tô...
Yep, so the away is going to bounce the Voice of Resurgence, which is going to...
Well, that's the far side, right?
No, I think Yeah, the far side bounces it. The away side is the sacrifice. So the far side bounces it, and that's going to put a token into play because a spell was cast on Willy Edel's turn. And there's this second attack from Aurelia. That's going to bring Paulo down to 8. And this should be it. I don't think Boros Charm has a mode that will save Willy Edel from this attack.
He could have double struck.
Well, it would have had to have been after the second attack. Oh no, he could have responded to the away.
Right, with double strike on the Aurelia.
Yeah, the far with double strike on the Aurelia. That would have been
Not quite enough still.
well. It would have been 12.
Yeah.
That's not enough. So there's Ætherling that's coming in for an attack, and all right. So here's 2 mana. That's Boros Charm mana. I don't know what the other spell is. Boros Charm is going to make it indestructible. So a little fun these two are having with each other as Paulo, Vitor, Damo, Rosa ties this up at 1 apiece.
Then you get a really good look at what, attracts Paulo to a deck like this.
I mean, this is so Paulo.
Yeah.
This is, I don't think I've ever seen him play a couple of times he's played a non-control decks. Dak Faden is the greatest thief in the multiverse. Follow his adventures in the Magic the Gathering comic produced by IDW. A special promo card unique to the IDW comic series comes in each issue. Find out more about these comics at wizards.com/magic merchandise.
Let's check out Ætherling and look a little bit at that card. It was you saw 8 Willy Edel's life up in 2 quick chunks.
You know what? That's what a lot of the Lings do.
Yes.
Like, I don't think there's been a Ling that hasn't been able to finish out a game. Maybe Torchling.
Sure.
Maybe Torchling. But yeah,
Torchling tried.
It tried. It had a couple problems, but not any big ones. So here you go, Ætherling. It's another rare from Dragon's Maze. Dragon's Maze is making a big impact on this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, you introduce a lot of new powerful gold cards. Not that this one's gold, but it's going to do there.
It's gold in my heart. So as you can see, the ability that makes it, like Morphling is the +1, -1, and the -1, +1. And then there's usually a couple abilities that makes the creature hard to kill, like using a blue to exile until the end of turn.
Interesting, though. It's designed to help decide games between slow control decks. So I guess those decks, once you get... What I'm curious to see is when we see our first Esper control match, and someone plays an Ætherling, and then the other deck has just had this dead draw of far and aways and whatever other removals that are in there, just start firing everything, just 5 for 1 themselves to kill an Ætherling.
Oh, and you know what? You're spending 5 cards and they're tapping 5 blue sources. So you are so far behind. I think this has to be one of the hardest to kill of the, I don't know if we want to call it an Ætherling cycle, but the cycle of shapeshifters, which are like these.
So obviously you see it's gonna be found alongside Detention Spheres and Supreme Verdicts and Sphinx's Revelations.
Right.
So,
all those blue slow controlling
you're
cards.
playing right into their hands, Paulo, Vitor, Damo, Rosa.
Let's listen and see what these players are talking about.
Não, eu tava pensando que podia ter se tu tivesse grau de assalto.
Interesting.
Daí tu ia matar o bicho, tu ia querer dar a cólera e matar a Aurélia.
Now my Portuguese is not that good, but I think they're talking about how good Ætherling is.
Mas daí se tu tivesse a chave eu posso...
Sounds like we got another tied up match. Brad Nelson picked up a game against Yuta Takahashi, and now they're all locked up.
Everyone's at 1 apiece.
No, I believe we heard that Ben Stark. Ben Stark defeated Godinez Vidigaris 2-1.
Oh.
So mono red or nearly mono red takes down Bat Control.
You know what?
Early results.
We like to call that deck the lunch break because you're usually done with 20 to 30 minutes left, and you can.
I'm hungry.
Second lunch, 11 Z's. I guess now it's like 3 Zs. I was going to say 2 Zs, but maybe not.
All right, we're about to get started on the first of 3 remaining game 3s in the feature match area.
Yep, yes, that is correct. Maybe we'll get to see some more Magic after this, but the possibility could be slim because we have a couple of really aggressive decks going at it at the other table. So
And some only one aggressive deck at this table.
yes.
But you did see that the Esper control deck can close a game out pretty quickly. So
All right, so here we go. We got a couple of land for both players, and what Edel's going to take 2 so that he can play a Keening Apparition.
well, very interesting. Keening Apparition, just
I mean, it could sacrifice a
just-
destroyed Detention Sphere.
yeah.
I'm trying to think of what else that it could target. That's
Yeah, that's a
I guess
main
that's
deck.
it.
That's a main deck creature that he had. Gets Devour Fleshed.
another 2 life, and there's Loxodon Smiter. He's worth paying 2 life for. Paulo plays his 3rd land, passes a turn, attack with the Smiter. That's going to be Paulo down to 16. And we've yet to see a Domri raid hit the board, but I think there might actually be one in Willy Edel's hand that he considered playing, but then he decided not to. It's either that or it could be a Gore Clan Rampager. I'm not sure. Once we get the hands,
Well, here we go. I'll show you what exactly he's holding on to.
it's a couple
2
of
Domri
Domri raids.
Raids, an Advent of the Worm, and a Gruul Guildgate.
Right, so, and man, Far Away has been doing work. Away goes the Loxodon Smiter, but is replaced by a Domri raid, which doesn't get a card off the reveal.
Let's take a look at the set of Supreme Verdicts sitting in Paulo Damodarosa's hand.
Right now, it's nothing to destroy
like, "Oh,
with
you-
him, but
you
he's
got
all
you."
set. He's set for something.
And that looks like Blood Baron of Viscopa. From Paulo
Yep, it is
Vitor
Blood Baron.
Damodarosa.
Blood Baron of Viscope,
Let's see if we know.
and it's dead. We don't have to worry about that one anymore.
Was there a little fighting that went on there? Show you, get a look at Blood Baron.
And there's Supreme Verdict number 1.
Protection from white and black, and as long as you have 30 or more life, and an opponent has 10 or less life, Baron of Viscopa gets +6/+6 and has flying. Oh, by the way, it has lifelink.
Oh, it feels like a fixed version of the old the old Divinity of Pride, because it mentions your opponent's life total as well.
So I don't have to show you Willy's hand because we got to look at it there.
Yep. Sin Collector did not find any sins. We are going to +1 our Domri raid, and we're going to hit Aurelia. Not a bad spell to play. Paulo's nearly tapped out. He would have mana for a cancel if he actually plays it. I'm not sure if that's in his deck, but looks like Aurelia's going to
Yeah, his hand's
come on down.
His hand's far and away, and 2 Supreme Verdicts.
Oh, it's Ruikthar instead.
Oh,
Feels like we're setting up for something here.
do you have any response to Ruikthar?
Wow. So Paulo is going to probably take 6 damage. There's no getting around this.
It is very difficult to deal with a Ruikthar when you're at 6.
Luckily, Paul's at 20. Probably soon to be 14. But Supreme Verdict, that's a beautiful answer for this situation. He could also wait a turn and block with his Sin Collector. Actually, that wouldn't work because of the fight ability from Domri Raid. So,
Yeah.
I mean, is it just for Supreme Verdict?
Yeah, it's take 6 here, and
Bite the bullet.
yep. But he knows that Aurelia is there. He just saw it off, get drawn off the Domri Raid. So
Well, I mean, he has a Far and Away in his hand also. So he could use the Supreme Verdict now and
have mana to far
Yeah, if he would like,
the
or he
the
can,
Aurelia back for a turn.
exactly, or he can wait a turn and then far and away if there's another creature for Willy Edel. So the Supreme Verdict did happen, and in response, Willy Edel is going to use the Zertar Druid to deal 1 damage to all of his opponents. Oh, Boros Charm was just picked up for Willy Edel, so not going to be good against far away, but if instead Paulo, Vitor, Damo, Rosa decides to use the Supreme Verdict for whatever threat Willy Edel comes up with this turn, could be a blowout.
Yep. And here it comes. Here's the War Leader.
Attack for 3 and attack for 3. I think Paulo
should be a 13
Yeah, I think he
minus 2 War Leader attacks.
Yeah, he should be. Yes. So he's down to 7.
Yeah, there you go.
And is this going to be Supreme Verdict? And that's going to be met with a Boros Charm to give indestructibility. 3 mana left. You just have to use the far and away.
He is far and away. He also has a Zarya Charm. Let's take a look at what's going on. There you see far and away.
Also, he just goes and uses
he's
the,
like, away.
Yeah,
Go
get that
away.
guy.
And so the life gain of Blood Baron of Viscopa wins a match against Melissa DeToro in the match against Edgar Kosadevich.
That's got to be a brutal card against the mono red decks.
Yeah, you remember Baneslayer Angel?
I do remember.
Oh, she had him down to 4. She couldn't finish it.
So the first Azorius Charm, well, Azorius Charm was used to draw a card, and he drew another Azorius Charm. So he has Azorius Charm and a Detention Sphere in his hand.
It looks like he has
no,
Sin
he drew-
Collector and
yeah, he-
Detention Sphere.
So he drew the Detention Sphere, that's what it was.
Yeah. Meanwhile,
Looks like Brad Nelson wins his match 2-1. So we are watching the last match of
Okay.
Magic for this round.
so Detention Sphere takes down Domri Raid.
And there's-
Another Domri Raid comes down to join it. We get a Voice of Resurgence, and Voice of Resurgence hits the board.
Domri accidentally spinned up to a 6 when it shouldn't have. Now, I don't know if Paulo plays any spell that he can use to pounce his Detention Sphere. Because if he does...
Well, he had the Keening Apparition.
Well, the King Apparition was on Willy Edel's card.
Oh, you're saying does Paulo have anything?
because-
Oh, yeah. Then he gets to legend out his the two Domri Raids.
Yeah, and get his Detention Sphere back.
Sure.
But looks like Jace Architect of Thought is the play. And Nazoria's Charm goes to Paulo's hand. Another 2 cards. Couple land. Go to the bottom of the library. So Domri looks like got a +1, and there is a Zertar Druid. Paul's at 7. That's still got to be relevant.
Yeah, we
One-
see. What he doesn't know is that he's actually at 3 because
Because of the Boros
there's a
Charm.
Boros Charm in hand.
Well, there's a chance that Boros Charm does something else other than,
Sure.
4 damage. 2 mana, and we are cycling Azorius Charm again. Picks up a land. Paulo hasn't used his Jake's Architect of Thought this turn.
The Zertar Druid is not in Willy Edel's hand right now. He just has a
Yeah, he played it.
gets a Sin Collector for his troubles.
Probably going to promptly play that, which is going to prompt a response from Willy Edel.
Yeah. What is he gonna do?
He's going to Boros Charm
Yep.
you.
To the head.
Paul's down to 3. Tick-tock, there's a Zertar Druid in play. Doing what he does best. Well,
Oh, and by the way, we're getting close to an emblem from Domri Raid.
what is, how many do you need for the emblem? Is it
7?
7?
7. And then you basically get like an Acromas Memorial.
Not a bad effect. A little bit of an overkill, with Paulo being at 3. And there is a Burning Tree Emissary. Still without friends. Paul's holding on to a far away.
Yep, he just drew it. He's kind of wishing that the far could target his detention sphere right now.
That'd be a little too good. Looks like we are going to send something far and something else away.
So bounce your Voice of Resurgence, and then you sacrifice a creature. So he's gonna... Yep, sacrifices the Burning Tree Emissary. Two creatures attack Domri Raid. He's like, that's fine.
Yeah.
No blocks.
You can't block the Zertar Druid anyway, as it adds a mana to the pool and brings Paulo down to 2.
Zertar Rogue is more like it.
Don't let him hear you call him that. First, Voice of Resurgence comes back, and that's it.
We see Willy was holding an Advent of the Worm at the end of that game. He was about to flash that in and make life utterly miserable.
Well, I mean, 2 activations from the Zertar Druid was also all it took. So, yeah, so Willy Edel takes that 2-1. Fast Magic. I thought that this would be... slow and grindy and Sphinx's Revelation-y and... Well, there's no Thrag test, so maybe
But even the game where we saw the Sphinx's Revelations... it was the Ætherling closes that game out very, very fast.
It's all it.
And you saw the swings, right? So like Paulo's got cards. Mm-hmm. He only has to worry about 1, maybe 2 cards in Willy Edel when his deck executes its plan perfectly.
Exactly.
And so he's able to go 8/8/8. So even the games where the control deck takes control and it goes long,
right?
We're not going to see those games be very long.
Right. Exactly. The long games aren't actually long games. Yeah. They're just. You take the early game, I stabilize in the mid game, and then the game's over because Ætherling just gets the job done. It's like Fireball. It's unblockable Fireball, reusable Fireball for blue Fireball.
What was that, fanning the flames?
It's
buyback.
Yeah, it's blue fanning the flames.
We're going a little too obscure here, I think.
And I don't think that's that's not in the card viewer. We can't bring that one up. So it looks like we're going to send it down to Sheldon Minery, who's talking with winner Willy Edel.
Sheldon Minery down here in the feature match pit with Willy Edel, the winner of the Titans of Brazil match. What was the real key card in that matchup?
I think it's Aurelia. I think it's very, very strong. He can really play around it, especially when I have Voice of Resurgence in play. So he needs to play spells on his turn, and he's always open to Aurelia Blowout. Domri Rage was really good as well.
Were you hoping that Possibility Storm lasted a little while longer than it did?
Yeah, maybe I should stay, wait a little longer to play it, because it totally blanks all his instant spells. I don't think he has any sorcerer spell besides the Wrath, but I don't know. Maybe he was just bluffing, but I don't know. He's good bluffing, but I won't buy it. And never.
So what got you onto this deck in the first place?
I think it's a deck that suits my playstyle a lot. It's a mid-range aggro deck, and I expect a lot of Esper deck. I really believe I have a good sideboard playing against this deck, and mono red in other aggro decks I have a good matchup as well. I don't know. It's a new format, but the best way to start the block construct is beating a good deck with a good player playing. So.
All right. Good luck the rest of the weekend then.
Thank you, Sheldon. See you around.
All right, I'm Sheldon Menery. This is the feature match pit where you just watched Willy Edel take down Paulo, Vitor, Damo, Rosa 2-1. Back to the booth.
So that was interesting.
Well,
we hear what the possibilities of Possibility Storm are, blanking Sphinx's Revelation.
Well, first, I think I need to say that I thought that outro for the interview from Sheldon Menery was a little too long. Could have been a little shorter.
Oh, okay.
Could have been a little shorter. He's learning from the big guy.
Just giving him notes?
Just giving him notes, verbal.
Sure.
I hope he still has his earpiece in. But that's actually awesome. Possibility Storm just blanks Sphinx's Revelations.
Right, it means the instant you cast is not necessarily the instant you want.
Right.
And if you cast, Sphinx's Revelation, if you hit another Sphinx's Revelation.
It's for 0.
Yeah. Fascinating.
I'm in. I mean, the card was awesome, but I didn't realize what the possibilities were. And I'm sure everyone on Twitter was saying. I don't have my Twitter up yet
Yeah.
because, I'm an old man and I don't know how that stuff works. So, you know what? I'm gonna get on Twitter, try to see what's going on there. We're gonna send it back to the news desk. So take it away.
Hagen here with you as we start Block Constructed. Well, there's quite a lot going on there, isn't there? Sphinx's Revelation turns out still good in whole block, just like it was good in standard. Draw cards, gain lots of life at instant speed. Who knew that was going to be good? There's still lots of stuff out there, though. You've got mono red decks, you've got your kind of Boros aggro decks, you've got all kinds of grindy mid-range green, white, black, green, black out there. Esper control is everywhere. And that's one of the reasons that our first deck tech coming up in a little while is going to be with an Esper control player. But so many decks, and we've still got under the hood a couple of real tricksy things to bring you. There are a couple of decks that are just insane and rather fabulous, and we're kind of crossing our fingers that they're going to be good as well as crazy. So, meanwhile, we have a new master scoreboard for you. This morning we came in, we gave you 2 draft pods. What we're going to do now is show you a selected highlight reel of the 3-0s. For the next few rounds, we're going to concentrate on these. Let's take a look at our new master scoreboard here on day 1. Now remember, there are 47 players with a perfect 3-0 start to this Pro Tour. Couldn't fit them all in, so here's just 16 from around the world. Melissa DeTora, 3-0, haven't quite updated that one yet. Paulo, Vitor, Damo, Rosa goes to 3-1, as you can see, and that is at the hands of Willy Edel, who is 4-0. Samuele Estrati, he's one of the 19 who could still be Player of the Year, along with Willy Edel. He is 3-0 right now, still playing. Eric Froelich, 3-0, still playing. Lukas Jaklowski of the Czech Republic, top 8 of Worlds in Chiba 2010. Robert Jurkovic, now we said he was a fantastic block player. Amazing win percentage in block, over 70%. That is gargantuan within the context of Pro Tours. The fact that he went 3-0 in draft is a massive, massive deal. Now, Robert Marr, Bob Marr, the great one, Dark Confident, that's his own invitational winning card. He's 3-0, still playing. On the other side, from Japan, Makihito Mahara, the 2006 world champion, 4-0. Yuri Paleg, he was the 2007 world champion. He comes back. Finals of a PTQ, winner of a PTQ, winner of his first 4 rounds here. Dennis Rashid of Sweden, he's 4-0. He defeated Matej Zatlkaj from the European coverage team and the Slovak Republic. He is now 3-1. Zatlkaj, Rashid advances to 4-0. Not a terribly interactive game. They didn't seem like they had a lot of fun in that one. Tomoharu Saito, former Player of the Year, he's 3-0. And now Felipe Tapia Bashera, leader in the Rookie of the Year race, he's lost his first round of Block Constructed, falls to 3-1. Someone who has won his first round, now look at that, Yuya Watanabe, he leads the Player of the Year race, 62 points coming in, was 4 points clear of Ben Stark, and he is setting a blistering pace. He needs to keep ticking off the wins. We think round about 11 and 5, top 25 will make things very difficult for people to overtake him. We gave you a few of the millions and billions and trillions of permutations of the 19 players who can be Player of the Year. Linus Watsfeld, 3-1, you see he loses there. And finally, Craig Wesco, noted for his white weenie play and deck building, but in draft, Rakdos served him very well, went 3-0 with a blisteringly fast Rakdos deck. So those are the 16 we're focusing on over the next few rounds. Gradually, as we move on, we'll lose the players who are starting to lose, and it'll become more of a true reflection of the absolute top of the Master Scoreboard. So, what have we got? We've got deck techs lined up right the way from here to Sunday. And we're going to begin today mostly with what we call the pillars of the format. As we're looking through the metagame, we're seeing what are the decks that are in big numbers, the things that you have to beat or you're going to find a real struggle if you can't beat. And the first of those is going to be Esper Control. I'm going to hand you over to the video wall, our own Zach Hill, with European coverage lead commentator, Mr. Matej Zatlkaj.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Tournament Center. I'm Zach here with Pro Tour Berlin finalist and European coverage standout.
Lead coverage standout,
Mate Zadelkai. You're playing Esper Control. Can you tell us a little bit about that deck?
Yeah, so basically Esper Control is a white, blue, black control deck which uses the most efficient removal of the format to get hold on the board and then take the game away with Sphinx Revelation, Jace, and Ætherling.
Cool. So let's take a look at actually some of the cards you used to do that. Now, you just mentioned, obviously, Sphinx's Revelation, Jace, Architect of Thought. 4 copies of both of these cards. Why, they just draw a card. Why are you playing 4 of each of these?
Yeah, basically these are the pillars of the deck, which I think all versions of Esper in this tournament do run for. So Sphinx Revelation is one of the most powerful cards in the format. We've seen it in Standard, where it's already such a powerhouse, but now in Block it's even better. The format's still quite fast, but you can get, with your removal spell, especially with Supreme Verdict, which is also legal in Block, you can sweep the board and draw some cards, land a Jace to further protect your life total, and then just play another Revelation for more cards, more life, and just find a win condition.
Yeah, and that just ends the game. And we have seen a lot of Revelation in Standard. Now, Jace we have seen less of in Standard. You may see 1 or 2 here. It's kind of good against Lingering Souls. Here, though, we have the full 4 copies. Why is this card so good in Block constructed?
Yeah, the good thing about the Esper deck, it's really versatile. You can do, you have cards that are good against aggressive decks and control decks. Jace does both. His +1 ability negates the attackers, so usually against some decks which run a lot of 2/2s, just +1ing Jace, they suddenly become much smaller. Sometimes they can't even kill Jace by themselves after using the +1 ability. But against control decks, the +1 ability is not so good, whereas the second ability comes right into play. You can just ride the card advantage. You play Jace, -2, draw 2 or 1 card, usually just more lands, then you can +1 him, next turn maybe -2 him again. And actually, he can serve as a win condition. It can also happen that you can have really stalled out games. You can just +1 Jace turn after turn to ultimate him later.
And use his ultimate. Again, in the blue-white decks we see in Standard, sometimes there's 1, 2 copies of Supreme Verdict. Again, here you have all 4 copies. Why is that so important to the deck?
Yes, Supreme Verdict is a key card in the format. I think a lot of decks which are playable in this format are actually good against Supreme Verdict. There's the Voice of Resurgence, the black-green deck has a lot of regenerators, not so good, but I still want to run 4 just because it forces the opponent to play around it, so he might not commit as many creatures to the board, and it can be quite efficient with some other removal spells that are in the deck. So, and just for 4 mana sweep the board, you sometimes have to just always do it against some decks, like mono red, but otherwise you lose.
Yeah, right. You can't just threaten it, you have to do it. So you mentioned a couple other removal spells. Let's actually take a look at some of the cards in the deck that are a little bit less pillar, but really important. Now you've got 4 Azorius Charm, 4 Far and Away. Is this kind of your removal package?
Yeah, that's the main removal package. The good thing about it is that both cards, again, are good against aggressive decks and somewhat okay against control decks. Azorius Charm can either put the creature on top of the library, which saves you precious life totals, but also can draw your card if you need it against control. So that's already used the versatility from the other cards coming back. And Far Away is just very efficient because you can play it at the 2 mana slot, which you don't have that many cards of. You can play it at 3 mana slot for the away part, and if you use that 5 mana, it's just really, really good against a lot of the aggressive decks, especially ones running green, such as Armada Worm, other tokens where you just bounce a token, kills it, and then they sacrifice the other creatures they have. So it's just super efficient.
Yeah, you just get to kill 2 guys. Now, Syncopate here, 3 copies of this counterspell. There's a lot of counter magic actually available in this format. Why Syncopate specifically?
Yeah, we played around a lot with the numbers in Syncopate, but we found out that you want 2 mana counter spells basically. Against some decks, you really want to counter them on turn 2. Just Syncopate for 1, an aggressive creature, maybe a opposing Sync Collector. Just a lot of options, and you can just play your lands with Syncopate mana up. You don't have to worry about anything. So that's kind of fine.
Totally, and then Detention Sphere, of course, takes care of the threats that you can't Supreme Verdict, like Lotla Troll that you mentioned.
Yeah, it's very versatile.
Let's look at how you actually end a game, though. Now, you were talking earlier about Sin Collector, not necessarily very intuitive to splash black almost essentially for a 3-mana 2/1 in a control deck. Why is Sin Collector so important to this deck?
Yeah, mainly Sin Collector is a great card because it serves 2 purposes against aggressive decks and control decks. Because against aggressive decks, you can play him, you see their hand, usually they have I've seen Putrefies, Advents of the Worms, Abrupt Decays, Dino Charges, Museum Mortars, a lot of cards which might not always be good against you, but you get the information from their hand and discard their best instant sorcery.
Right.
So that's his use against bad decks, but against the mirror match, where the opponent has Sphinx Revelations, which is the main card in the mirror match, you just want to have 4. It's just so efficient, and it can block as well.
Right.
Combined with the Blood Baron of Viscopa, which we'll get to in a second, it actually protects you against edict effects yourself, such as Devour Flesh, Far Away, and so on.
Right, and even if they far and away it to bounce it to Edict or Blood Baron, you get to use it again.
Exactly, it's more than fine.
Totally. So you did point out Blood Baron. Now, a lot of people have Ghost Council in this slot, or Obzadat.
Yes.
Why did we go with Blood Baron instead?
Blood Baron is just really efficient against the green-white and the green-black decks, which we expected quite a lot. And it can be also annoying in the mirror match because it cannot be bounced by Azorius Charm.
Right.
And it cannot be a Detention Sphere away. So sometimes when we both discard each other with the Sin Collectors, we don't know that no one has any relevant cards, and that's just slam the Blood Baron and hope he gets there.
And then finally, Ætherling. Now, Ætherling, kind of an old school control finisher. Why are we playing 2 of these guys?
Ætherling is probably the best finisher, and we're not running more just because it does cost 6 mana. In some matchups, the Blood Baron is a little bit more effective. So we've kind of only run 2, but it's the best creature in the mirror match against other Esper decks, because once you land an Ætherling with enough blue mana up to exile it away from removal, then it wins the game by itself. And not even like chaining Sphinx Revelation will help the opponent.
Yeah, right.
Because you can +1, -1 it every turn for 8 damage, which is just massive.
Right, and you can't kill it, so you're doing that every turn. All right, let's take a look at the mana base here now. We obviously we've got 12 Ravnica dual lands. I'm more interested actually in the next slide, which it'll be, I think, what, 6 total gates, if we can take a look at these on the screen.
Yeah.
Now, you were saying earlier, we were watching one of the matches that was up on K, you were saying, it looks like PV has a lot of basics. Now, you've got, what, 18 dual lands? Why so many of these?
Because after all, you run a 3-color deck, and you need double white for Supreme Verdict every time on turn 4, and you need double blue for Jace, the Architect, on turn 4 again. So you need double blue and double white.
Right.
But you also need at least 1 black for the Collectors, for the Faraways, for the Blood Barons, and so on. So basically, we decided on such a mix just because the 5 black ones supplement our main colors, and this is just an added bonus. It's a concession to the sideboard, which we'll get to later, and then I'll explain, because this composition makes a lot of sense with the following slide, where I'm assuming you'll show 5 of my plains and 4 of my islands.
Right, okay, so we've got basic lands. You're going to play basic lands in a game of Magic. No swamp relevant, but let's take a look at that sideboard. The first card that we're going to see here, Precinct Captain's got a slide to itself. Now this again is a nod back to like 1997 when you'll play your control deck and bring in a creature. How did we get to Precinct Captain?
Well, Precinct Captain, I was really not a fan of him. I thought like, oh, he just a 2/2, he's going to get killed by anything. But we figured out that in the sideboard mirror matches, sometimes playing a Precinct Captain on turn 2 is a game over, because you both trying to do the same thing, and Sin Collectoring and Jacing and Sphinx Revelationing, that just playing a 2/2, which pressures the board so much, it kind of gives you much more presence, and it's just really hard to deal with, because most players will sideboard out a Supreme Verdict, and after 1 hit, it turns off all their edicts.
Exactly, yeah.
Devour Flesh and Far Away.
So that's one plan. All right, we've got some more supplemental cards. We've got additional finishers. Reap Intellect I like, presumably for the mirror. Why these Angel of Serenity is really quick?
Basically, Angel of Serenity is great. We swapped them out with Ætherlings against the green decks, because the plan is basically to have 3 Blood Barons in the side, like after board. We play the Blood Baron, and suddenly they can't attack us efficiently. They only have Advent of the Worm, Experiment 1, and Deadbridge Goliath as mono-green colored creatures that can get through Vampire. So basically, we stall the board. They can't do much, maybe with Sphinx, with Jace, and then we play Angel of Serenity, target all their green guys, and start attacking with Blood Baron, because the Angel can block himself, and you start gaining a lot of life with Blood Baron.
Totally, so it's almost kind of a combo. Finally, let's round out the sideboard really quickly. Looks like we're just kind of producing more answers. Counterspell, Edict to just keep you alive, Dispel presumably for more Sphinx's Revelations.
Exactly.
And Detention Sphere.
Versatility.
Yeah,
we didn't quite know what to expect in the metagame, so
Right.
we went with a deck which is versatile, good against control, good against aggro, and has a lot of options and possibilities to outplay your opponent.
And it sounds like you're saying that a lot. All right, we've got Esper Control, good against control, good against aggro. I'm Zach Hill. This is Mate Zadelkai. This is, let's take you back to Pro Tour Dragon's Maze.